Hi, this is Jason Sterling, and this is the speed build version of my series of tutorials outlining the build out of the apartment 2B of the Jasmine Suites. We've just put down our basic outline here of the floor plan and our doorways. I tend to use the same doorway in a lot of builds. It's just a basic modern brown door. You can also see there I outlined a small vestibule. That is in order to have all of the doorways in the apartment match. I want the front door to look like the doorways in the rest of the apartment. And since you cannot change out the front door, I usually just kind of build a little walled-in room there, so that, you know, as you're taking pictures and your Sims are moving around, it does match. We are working on the kitchen too here. I wanted it to be very kind of colorful, kind of spicy looking, but dark spicy colors like, you know, saffron and cumin, chili powder, stuff like that. This is the spice district, and that is why I went with that sort of design scheme. I figured the people that live here would want something that was more colorful, you know, just a little bit different, a little bit out of the ordinary, not so bland and boring. We have also built a wall dividing off the living and dining area from the rest of the kitchen. We're going to put in our sort of home office dining living area now, starting with some light fixtures. The dining room we put there by that dividing wall. We also could put it over where the office is. If you didn't want a home office there by those two windows, you could put the dining room there and make the living room that entire space to the other side, abutting the kitchen. Maybe even take down the dividing wall between the kitchen. You could put maybe a row of like a bar there, or something like that, with a row of bar stools. The colors in here we're keeping still pretty bright. The orange on the walls very bright. In the living room proper, we're going to do, though, the sort of plastered looking brick, as if, you know, kind of the people who rehabbed it wanted to keep some of the sort of original kind of you know, character in quotes of the space, and not entirely rehab the whole thing. We went with sectional seating. We put in the wall-to-wall carpeting, but then we framed it out just there with, I believe they call it the window shopping fence. To me, it looks kind of like a reducer or a spacer, and it gives it an overall look of an area rug instead of wall-to-wall carpeting. They don't really have any area rugs that are like 3 by 3, the size of that space, so that's why I kind of took that tact to do it that way. We're going to throw in our television here, and then we'll go around and put in some clutter. Every so often you'll see I'll throw in just a still shot at the end of each of these sections to show what it looks like kind of cluttered out. And it's good to see it with a little more clutter in the space. It gives it a more lived-in look, a more realistic look. It's a bit like staging a house for sale. You know, I just think that it looks a little more real. So we are on the bathroom now. We've used the same flooring and the same wall, accent walls pieces as we did in the kitchen, so they would blend together. That made sense, since probably the same person who did the kitchen would have done the bathroom before the owner moved in. Because we do have an owner. His bedroom's coming up next after this bathroom. And the owner's bedroom looks a little bit different from the rest of the apartment. It's the one that he came in and kind of remodeled himself first and kind of put his stamp on. So the floors are a little bit lighter now than the rest of the apartment. The walls are lighter. We used the retro luxe walling in his bedroom. And in his backstory, I imagine him as something of a window designer, you know, for big department stores, maybe a set designer or something like that for theater. So he's built some of the stuff in his room here. He built like this sort of canopy over his bed. His bed is going to be redesigned from the typical bed using move objects on. We have built here a new headboard that would give it, you know, a different look. We're also going to place a love seat at the end of that bed to give it a sort of footboard look to it, maybe a sleigh bed look to it. And we've turned mirrors backwards to provide side rails, or side panels, so that you don't see the side of the bed either. In the end, when I went through and did the clutter for this master bedroom, I actually lifted the bed up you know, a couple of spaces so that it stands a little higher too than it normally would be. On top of the closet in the empty space there, again, we're kind of imagining the owner has built in another section of drawers to store stuff in. His room is really the most done in this apartment because it's his. This is his permanent home. This is where he lives. So it's a lot less cluttered because things are put away. He's designed spaces to put things. The other bedrooms coming up are much more transient looking because the people living there, this is not where they're going to live forever. They are just renting a space in San Myshuno until they can settle someplace else or until they move on. In the case of the first bedroom coming up here shortly, it is just until the guy living there moves on, because he kind of moves from city to city as a photographer. He's working on kind of a grand travel log coffee table type of book full of his photography and his experiences as he's traveled around the sim world. He is staying in what would be the guest room of this apartment, and it's set up as a guest room. He basically has no furniture. All this furniture that you see belongs to the owner. It's a sofa bed, you know, like you find in a lot of guest rooms. The one thing that the renter has put in is the table that just went into the corner there. That table he bought himself, maybe at the flea market, you could imagine, and the chair to go with it. So he has someplace to kind of sit and work. You know, he does some digital photography, digital manipulation of his photography, and that's where he would sit and work. We throw in a bunch of suitcases. We're going to put in some packing crates because he tends to just pack things up and ship it to his next location. And things change a little bit as you play around with it. It changes as you do clutter. Originally, I had the in-table crate there. Then I switched out to stacking crates in that one corner. And then in the end, when I did clutter, I moved it back to the in-table crate and just stuck a box on top of it. And there's kind of the finished results with clutter. The last room belongs to a young lady. She is new to San Myshuno, and she rented this room off of Craigslist. It is a little small. But, you know, in San Myshuno, you're lucky if you're not sleeping under the bridge, you know, with a crackhead over there, because, you know, it's just a very tight real estate market. And so she found this great room off Craigslist, and she's moved all of her stuff in. She does not have a closet. So we're going to use the sort of faux closet look here with the rails and the shelves coming up. And again, you can kind of imagine that she built that herself upon moving in here and finding there is no closet. She's thrown a little bit of color on the wall to brighten the place up, put her stamp on it. And, you know, she's got also some packing crates that there's no place to put them. She doesn't have a closet, so she just kind of stacks them up, and she's going to use them as a table coming up. And she's also got her luggage as well. She'll just throw there on top of her dresser. And I think the dresser I also imagine is something she bought once she got there and found there was no closet. So maybe, again, she goes over to the flea market, she picks out a dresser, and, you know, it is what it is. I think she's happy with it. I do think being so optimistic and just thrilled to be living in the city that, you know, she got there and found this small room, made the best of it, and she just sees it as like, you know, she lives here now finally, and this is her room. Cluttered up after she's unpacked everything, but you know, she loves it. Thanks for watching this speed build. Feel free to check out the full 8 video long tutorial of this build if you would like. Also, I have another tutorial showing how to use elevators, more than one per lot, and also you can place them kind of decoratively on lots that aren't apartment lots. So please feel free to see that as well. Feel free to hit subscribe, hit like if you do like it. And that's it. Thank you for watching.